This is Steve Gruber's Michigan Morning Show, featuring Steve Gruber and Joanne Paul.
And Richard Kincaid in for Steve this morning, who is away attending to some family business. And we're hoping for the best as far as all of that is concerned. Joanne Paul here, of course. She's always here.
Lots of good guests on the agenda.
It has been an interesting morning.
It has been.
And let's continue on in that vein right now, as a matter of fact.
Well, certainly one of the issues with Obamacare, one of the concerns about the problems with the website, lack of security. And can people be confident that the information, the personal information that they're putting in is going to be secured? Keith Squires is president and CEO of Pathmaker Group, and he joins us now to talk a bit about that. Keith, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for being here. The concerns going on about the Obamacare website, should we, as consumers, be concerned that our personal information may be hacked in some way?
Some of the officials in Washington are claiming that it is, and yet you've got accounts of people opening up their information that they're supposed to get back from the exchange and finding data that was supposed to go to another person. So you definitely have some issues. You've also some security experts saying that the site can be hacked because it wasn't developed using secure coding techniques, and I think the concept is pretty clear there if you look at what's going on, that there are some gaps and holes. I think the testing that they did wasn't thorough, and they got a temporary certification. I don't know how you get a temporary security certification if you didn't test it the way you should have, but that's the case right now. So I think they're still scrambling to plug some gaps and close some holes, and there's some issues that are there. The interesting part is that the government is not subject to the mandates that require that you disclose a breach. So the site could be breached, and we will never know.
One of the stunning, revelations I think that came out from some of the testimony from Kathleen Sebelius had to do with, convicts could be on the other end of the line answering questions from consumers about what they need to put into the website or how to do that. Were you surprised?
Yeah, that's a little disturbing, isn't it? That's just one more example of something that's so large with so many moving parts that it's hard to control. And I think that's one of the issues people have with the government trying to take over something so large and diverse, is that they can't control all these pieces. It's too big and there's too many moving parts.
Has it been an issue in Massachusetts?
Well, I don't think I've ever heard of the kind of concerns that they're talking about here, even with the rollout. And, of course, you're dealing with something on a much smaller scale.
What do you think is the answer in terms of protecting that information? Do you think it can be protected in the current system, or do you think, for the most part, that, perhaps the website has to be thrown out completely and rebuilt from the ground up?
Yeah, it's possible they can eventually patch it. The problem with most websites when they've got security holes is they weren't designed correctly. And that's our business. We go in and we test sites all the time, and we look at the code to see if they've designed it correctly so that it won't have these kind of breaches. And that's been a big problem with this site, is they just did not have the security perspective in mind when they designed it. So now they're having to scramble and go patch things. It's never going to be as secure, but they can probably close some of the gaps. With this Obamacare site, this exchange, you've got this concept of what they're calling a data hub, which includes lots of different departments within the government, the Homeland Security, Department of Defense, IRS, Social Security Administration, all these different components that need to be used to do verification and things like that. And so they're reaching into all these different sources for lots of different data, and there's a lot of data moving around. And, of course, they're telling you that it's secure and can't be breached, but we'll never know.
One of the other claims I thought unbelievable was a guy who said he logged on to get insurance. And we know that there are a number of people right here in our listening area who've received letters from their insurance companies saying that they're not going to be allowed to continue with their private insurance, that they're going to have to seek another policy. But the guy said that he logged on and gave all the information that he needed to, wasn't sure whether he completed the process, but then is notified later on by a man in another state who says when he logged onto the website, all of the first guy's information came up.
Yeah.
How can that even happen?
Well, you got a broken system, clearly. And, that came out in the news pretty quickly, pretty earnestly, and supposedly they're scrambling to patch it. But my biggest issue with all of this is how much truth are we getting. I think it's been pretty clear all along the way that they're not going to tell you everything that's going on, and they're not required to. It's not like, they have laws for public companies and they have other laws for themselves, and or lack thereof. So, the Congress tries to provide oversight, and they grill people, but they don't answer the question. There's not a whole lot they seem to be able to do about it. So it's a troubling issue completely, and unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever really know what's going on.
For those of us who are worried about security on our own personal computers, anything we should be doing?
Well, there's a standard set of rules you always need to follow on your computers, and that has everything to do with making sure your software is updated, you've got good antivirus that's got a good profile on it, that's always being updated. Those standard practices always need to be followed at home. If you've got a wireless access point, make sure you're using the strongest possible security so someone can't breach your home. So, you can look at a lot of different websites that tell you the tips to secure your home computers, and you need to make sure you're following those.
All right, Keith Squires, the president and CEO of Path Maker Group. We will take a break, and then Steve Miller will get us caught up on sports.